Raw Dandy Golf here, talking about one of my favorite things to talk about, golf. And what I want to look at today is how can we use the small amount of practice time we get to most efficiently improve our games. I don't know about yourself, but for me, I've been sitting at the desk for 40 hours this week. I'm taking the kids to the museum. It's not going to the range and retooling my swing and working on all kinds of different exotic positions. For me, it's working on fundamentals. And I think where the average player is going to benefit the most with the small amount of time they have to practice is simply working on fundamentals. You can work on them in your house, in your own backyard. I want to share a few things today on what I do to make sure my fundamentals still get locked in. Recently went out to a PGA Tour event. Well, you will see some variations in some fundamentals and some swings and things like that. You will notice how sound their fundamentals are, their grip, their stance, their ball position, their alignment, their posture, extremely sound fundamentals. And those are things that we can control before we even swing the club back. So I want to talk about some things that I do to make sure my fundamentals still get locked in. The first thing is your grip. Your only connection to the club is your grip. So the grip is very important. You don't want to get too extreme. You want to be pretty neutral with everything. But I like to use, and I've had this since I was a teenager, is this molded grip. I like to just put my hands on it periodically, make sure it still feels the way it feels on my normal club. You'll see Scheffler even using this molded grip. It's an old school training aid, but I still like to use it. And the other thing to not forget about grip is grip pressure. That's a fundamental as well. Now, the best example I can give for grip pressure is if you're throwing a ball, a tennis ball, baseball, you naturally hold this in your fingers. That's what you want to do with the golf club as well. And you naturally don't squeeze it into your palm, and you don't have tense muscles. You just hold this in your fingers and you loosely throw it, and that's how you get the most distance out of it. It's the same exact thing with a golf club. So it's grip, and don't forget about grip pressure. Now, stance is another thing. And what I've done for that is when you find a good stance for you, and I think with a lot of fundamentals, there's ranges. You don't want to go super extreme. You're not super wide, you're not super narrow, but there's a range. Find what range works best for you. When you have a good range, what I have here is I have a dowel cut out, and I'll take my stance. I'll put that between my feet, and I'll make sure I'm maintaining stance with my inside stance width. I'm making sure I'm staying consistent with that. So that's one thing you can do with your stance. Again, you don't want to get super wide. You don't need to get super narrow for normal shots. Just find your best standard inside stance width, cut out a little dowel, and then just use it. Stand there, and that's what it feels like. It recreates that feeling on what that feels like. Another thing you don't want to forget about is ball position. Now, ball position is where it's at in your stance, but also how far you are from the ball. Here's a split screenshot of one thing I like to do with a yardstick. From the tip of your toes, take a yardstick and lay it out there. And when you're striking the ball well, build this point of reference. See, okay, this is where I have my pitching wedge ball position here. You can always take this yardstick back out. If things are going astray, you'd be surprised at how often a swing flaw actually traces itself back to a fundamental. It's remarkable how often that occurs. So use a little yardstick, build a point of reference. Now, a very low-tech way that you can do this as well, if you find yourself hitting the ball well and you want to build a point of reference and lock that in so you know what you're doing in the future, just get a big piece of cardboard. Take your 7-iron, whatever club you have, stand on it where you're putting the ball at that point in time. Have someone trace your feet in the ball position. You then will have a point of reference that is locked in, and you can go back if things start to go astray. Now, for posture is very important as well. You can use a mirror. I got a window over there. I like to take my stance, look in the window, see my reflection, and make sure my posture still looks pretty good. Of course, you can always take a short video of yourself, but beware of over-analysis with video. Most of us don't have the time to make all kinds of drastic swing changes. Work on the fundamentals. The other thing is alignment. You'll see alignment sticks out there all the time. You can just use an alignment stick, put it down at the base of your feet. Again, for standard shots, is make sure you're not getting crazy open or crazy closed. But again, just kind of have that alignment stick there as a point of reference. So these are some fundamental things that I like to work on. You can lock in these fundamentals. You can work on, I think for the average golfer that's been working all week, they're doing stuff with the kids, we're not going to retool our swing, but you can reinforce those fundamentals, and getting really sound fundamentals will definitely improve your golf game and give you a lot more efficient practice time. Again, with these fundamentals, think in terms of ranges. There really are acceptable ranges of grip. There's acceptable ranges of ball position. There's acceptable ranges of stance. If you go to a tour event, you'll see variations in all those things, but experiment with them. See what works best for you. Move your ball position a little forward, move it back a little bit, take a little wider stance, a little narrower stance. See what works best. When you find something that's working, lock it in, document it so you can build it as a point of reference moving forward, and I think you'll find that really helpful. Hope you like these things. These are some of the things I do with working on my fundamentals. Hope you find them helpful. If you love talking golf, like hearing about golf stuff, tinkering with golf, hit like, hit subscribe. Would love to hear from you in the comments as well. Thanks for taking the time to watch.